Alright, kept you waiting, huh? Metal Gear Solid Delta. Snake Eater in a new coat of face paint. The old Snake might have shed its skin, but given that it's mainly a visual upgrade, the gameplay still holds up 20 years later. A sneaking mission for the fate of the world that took place during the Cold War between the East and West. But how about we heat things up a bit by turning it into a conflict between the East and the Wild West? By trying to beat the game on extreme difficulty using Revolver Ocelot's revolver as our only weapon. Because if you choose the right revolver during the final duel with Ocelot, you can keep it for New Game Plus. Well, the right revolver is the wrong revolver technically, because the left one is the right one. But the one on the right is the one that you want to make sure doesn't get left behind, I think. Probably could have worded that a bit more succinctly. But regardless, I do believe I speak for all of us if I say that being able to use Revolver Ocelot's revolver pleases Ocelot. After all, this is the greatest handgun ever made, the Colt Single Action Army. 6 bullets, more than enough to kill anything that, well actually 6 bullets isn't even remotely enough, and even the total of 18 that you can have on you at a time frequently still falls short. Not to mention that the firing rate is slower than the regular pistol, unless, and excuse me for speaking rashly, recklessly or bluntly without consideration of potential consequences, if you shoot from the hip, exchanging higher fire rate for lower accuracy. Also, it has less range than the pistol, and more noticeable bullet drop-off. However, those are minor inconveniences compared to the real issues. 1, it has no suppressor, which is more than a minor inconvenience, I would say, in a stealth game. And for an alternative way to do a silent takedown, there's no meaningful CQC option available other than this pathetic sort of pistol whipping, which honestly never actually came in handy. Well, other than for knocking out a goat, which at least among the animals is the greatest of all time, but also pretty much the only animal that you can hit with it, since you cannot hit anything on the ground, as you cannot use it while crouching or while lying down. And to be clear, neither against enemies nor against animals did it feel like it was within the spirit of the challenge to simply unequip the revolver in order to make use of our regular CQC moveset. So the only times I would allow to use CQC in this run is either defensively to counter the boss when she uses it against me, or if the game somehow forces my hand, making it a requirement to progress. So, when it comes to avoiding enemies, I am cursed to crawl on my belly and eat dust for most of the run, since acquiring food is a little bit more tricky. But to be clear, although the game categorizes some things under the weapons tab, I don't consider things like the directional microphone and catching venomous animals with a mousetrap in order to throw them at enemies, or throwing food on the ground to distract enemies as an alternate weapon. That's simply making use of tools and making use of the environment in my eyes. Or only the left eye at a later point. In the end, the challenge still revolves around the revolver and around my finger on occasion. So, can you beat the game on extreme difficulty under these restrictions? Well, probably to no one's surprise, no, you cannot. But perhaps to the surprise of some of you, you don't even have to deviate that much from the rules to completely complete the game to completion. I will definitely need some good RNG though, and with my rotten luck, I usually end up throwing snake eyes. Alright, New Game Plus, meaning that the moment we pick up our backpack, we already have the revolver in our inventory. Now to reiterate, unless you want to spend bullets on animals for food, you're not going to be able to hit anything that's on the ground. Which is unfortunate given that our protagonist here is known for having a snake's appetite. But what is fortunate is that the Virtuous mission is really short. So for now we don't even need to have snacks snacking on snacks. But as hungry as we might be for battle, we still have to be careful since we are outmatched and outgunned. As these guards are armed with 5.56ers and pineapples.
AK-47s and grenades.
Oh yeah, that's right, pineapples weren't invented yet back then. Which is why both Metal Gear Solid 1 as well as SpongeBob came out in the same year. Well, in Europe at least. And speaking of which, although we're not on European extreme difficulty, which I will explain later on as to why I made that decision, which is the difficulty option on which any alert would cause an instant game over, we are still able to prevent alerts if we are careful enough, despite not being able to do a silent takedown. After all, just because they can hear our shots, doesn't necessarily imply that they will know our location. In fact, despite that Snake here is heading into a brooding viper's nest containing a brood of vipers, we can still stir up the brood protecting hornets inside of the hornet's nest, as long as we take the shot out of eyesight and when not already in a caution phase. I suppose that under these circumstances, they don't question the noise they heard, since they are too busy questioning them being here in the first place. To be or not to be. Well, without enemies around we definitely feel as snug as a bug in a rug, but we also need to learn to get comfortable shooting our shot by completely avoiding enemies altogether without shooting any shots. And fortunately, you can quite easily get close to Sokolov without alerting any enemies, by taking this particular route. The only difficulty at this point is keeping track of the enemy patrolling on the right side, who can potentially spot you between the gaps in the wall. But of course, in those circumstances, I tend to make use of my favorite strategy. Namely, randomly doing stuff, hoping that it happens to work out in the end. So, then we rescue Sokolov, but we still need to escape with him. And unfortunately, he has the survival instinct of a lemming, and I do understand that Snake wouldn't trust him with a gun. However, in MGS5 you had the water pistol. And I wish we had that one here as well, because then we could have turned him into Super Sokolov. But speaking of guns that are out of place, other than the fact that I'm already not holding the correct gun in the cutscenes, I always hate it when cutscenes don't play along with my challenge runs, but we are then introduced to Proto-Revolver Ocelot. Although despite his tiny pistol, that's definitely some fancy shooting. He is pretty good. Although when it comes to judo, he should have picked up some new moves, instead of picking up the jammed bullet from being a little too fancy. And you might even say that it wouldn't actually magically fit into a .45 Colt revolver later on anyway. Well yeah, not with that attitude. And if I can have a little attitude myself, I must say that after 20 years, I managed to make my way through the Virtuous mission pretty quick under the circumstances. Age hasn't slowed me down one bit. Although I am a little disturbed by the fact that when the game originally came out, I was around Ocelot's age, but by now I'm getting close to the boss's age. Wow. I guess if I would join the Cobra unit, my name would be the Crippling Depression. Although I assume that the End would have a word to say about that, if he bothered to wake up. Not to mention that Snake himself handles being thrown from what realistically would be a lethal height, making water feel like concrete, and now being forced to kill his old mentor while still recovering from literal broken bones. He handles that quite well, I must say. Especially after then practically breaking his hand, because he was horsing around against the boss for a second time. But fortunately for us, she breaks the wrong gun in the process. I suppose in that sense the cutscenes not lining up with my challenge run is actually to my benefit. Although her own gun has some seemingly wrong behavior as far as physics is concerned. Or does it? I don't know, would bullets actually spin around like that? The thing is that I do recall this specific quote from The Punisher on PS2.
When a high-speed 5.56mm round enters the human body, it turns sideways and rips several inches through muscle and tissue, and then shatters. For when I really want to hurt someone.
Well, who knows. And even if it's weird, it's certainly not the weirdest thing that has happened in a Metal Gear game. Now, the situational awareness of enemies didn't appear that strange because of the darkness of night, But what was certainly weird was the fact that the hoarded nest trick worked for a second time. Pfft, falling twice for the same trick. That must really sting. Now fortunately in the next area there are no enemies present at all. Well, not until we actually meet up with Eva, who of course isn't even the real Eva, and she doesn't know the password. Interesting though that this is the first mention of the Patriots before the Patriots actually became a thing, and given that we learn in MGS4 who the Patriots are, that's even more ironic. But it is of course an essential part of the plot that the Patriots keep a low profile, hiding within the shadows. That the Lalilu lay low. Just like it's absolutely essential to the plot that Eva constantly takes her tits out, giving rise to Solid Snake before the other Solid Snake was even a thing. Although ironically the latter doesn't literally come from the former, because you know the whole cloning process and such. Although to be fair, it seems that this snake is more the type to goon over guns. Typical American. However, in order to gun down the goons that serve in Revolver Ocelot's unit, we use a revolver and not a pistol. And you would think that would make little difference. But that's actually not the case at all. In fact, this very encounter, which I fortunately tested for, is the whole reason I am not doing this playthrough on European extreme difficulty. Even though I originally planned on doing that. However, on E-Extreme, any audible gunshot will result in an immediate game over, even if you are completely out of sight. So unless I'm missing some sort of a hidden mechanic, doing this challenge on E-Extreme would already have resulted in an unsurmountable obstacle at the Ocelot unit. And therefore, we chose the regular extreme difficulty mode instead. Now that doesn't mean that noise is no problem whatsoever on this difficulty. Not to mention that we have limited ammo to work with. Meaning we are better off going for headshots, hoping that we won't miss too many times. However, that's actually easier said than done, evidently. This should be an easy headshot. Oh, that was not... Come on, how the hell was that not a headshot? Son of a bitch. Maybe that guy went back to his original position and I can try again? That's not very smart. Well, I just got shot here, but... I don't get it. How is that not a headshot? Uh-oh. Oh, bullet drop is a thing in this game. Oh, that could be the case. Yeah. So as I said, I only have 12 bullets now and 8 enemies, so... Headshots are kind of important. Perhaps instead I should have gone for the alternate one-hit kill, shooting them in the balls, in order to turn the Ocelot unit into the Ocelot Unix. But hey, remember the gentleman's code from South Park? You never fart on anyone's balls, and you don't go around shooting people in the dick. Okay, 4 remaining. 3 remaining. Okay, now he's dead. Okay, 2 more remaining, and I have 6 bullets, so that's more than enough to kill anything that moves. By the way, let's actually check if they drop any ammo, because they might. Hey, ration. Okay, also helpful. Doesn't look like they are going to drop revolver ammo, but... Oh, they do. Ah, they do. That's good. Ah, okay, nice. Okay, now I have 12 bullets. 12 shots. This time I have 12 shots. Yeah, good. Oh, fuck. That didn't work. Okay, let's... No, I'm not here. I'm not here. Just to win. Enemies have a very short memory in this game. That's for sure. Oh, whoa! Whoa, whoa, whoa! Fuckalicious. Maybe they don't. Maybe I shouldn't have insulted him. Hey, I have some bullets to spare, so that worked out. Okay, good. Oh my god. Maybe I shouldn't have insulted him. Hey, there was also ammo over here. Okay, good. So there is more ammo in the game than I thought there would be. So let's hope it stays that way.
We'll see.
That he even was willing to gamble on that. Like, he could have reloaded for all you know, he could have had 2 guns, who knows. So then, fake Eva squared off against Hidden Adam, in a way I can only describe as... In the next area, I picked up the crocodile cap, and then used the single piece of food that I had to distract the dogs After which I dove through and underneath the fence to avoid getting spotted by the soldiers. After all, defense is the greatest offense. And in the camp after that, it wasn't too difficult to sneak into the shed by first hiding underneath it, in order to be able to acquire food without having to shoot any animals for it. However, because of the guard near the barrels, sneaking towards the next area from here was in fact a problem. And paradoxically, shooting the explosive barrels, which would have alerted the entire camp, didn't seem like a banger of a strategy. So therefore I snuck all the way back and went around the perimeter. Unfortunately, there was another guard there who didn't move around. He would only turn in place. So it would seem impossible to stay out of sight, right? Well, then again, this is technically an old game. Let's hope that this works. Move while he is moving. You see, because he turns, he doesn't look to the left side when he turns. Holy crap, does that actually work? Wow, it actually worked.
I'm trying. He's taking advantage of poor technology.
Now, other than the fact that the duel with Ocelot now felt more befitting of a Western quick and the dead style shootout, with both of us using 6-shooters, but gameplay-wise it wasn't too different from simply using a pistol, other than the amount and location of ammunition. Now, it could have been different, but I simply forgot that you can distract him by making your revolver revolve around your finger. Nor did I use that in an attempt to keep the hornets away, just like he ends up doing. Given that someone told me that a hornet's nest could come in handy against the pain later on. And I definitely expected to need all the help I can get for that encounter. Even to the point of using the very much unconfirmed strategy of wearing the snow camouflage during that fight, which supposedly makes the hornets more reluctant to attack, since it's supposed to resemble a beekeeper outfit. With all the weird quirks in this game, it didn't even seem that far-fetched, but I'm pretty damn sure it either doesn't work at all, or its effect is completely negligible. But then again, if you would combine that by using the nest, it should at least be a hornet positive. But apart from the fact that it ended in the water most of the time, that effect is also quite negligible. At the very least, it certainly did not provide me with the edge that I needed. Because fuck me, did the pain live up to its name in this playthrough. Because whenever he is shielded by his hornets, he is completely immune to my revolver. Now, given the fact that I expected this, I was at least willing to consider using smoke grenades to get rid of the hornets as a way to bend the rules to make the fight at least possible in the first place. However, there is no smoke grenade pickup in the fight itself, so that wouldn't even have made enough of a difference to begin with. And using regular grenades would be bending the rules a little bit too much if you ask me. However, it turned out that we don't need to divert from the rules of the run at all. The pain can indeed be defeated using only the revolver. It's just a really freaking tedious and lengthy process, making use of whatever small opportunity you get to get a tiny bit of damage in. But on top of that, although it wasn't consistently feasible, mainly due to his position on the platform, but you can shoot down his own grenades so that he blows himself up, which either gets rid of the hornets or can even do a substantial amount of damage to him in the process. And since that entails using his own weapon against him, it does not violate the rules of the challenge. Unfortunately, more often than not, you don't get the opportunity to have the grenade in question land close enough to him, because it very much depends on, first of all, some shady hitboxes, but also, as I mentioned, his location in relation to the hornets. And they communicate quite well together, in order to keep enough space between them. But I suppose I should have expected them to have a bit of a hive mind. Regardless, eventually... Well, that was some good RNG for the beginning at least. But this is definitely a better first phase already. Damn it didn't hit him. There. Was the right one. Okay, good. The left one. The left one was the right one. What a philosophical conundrum. Really? Okay, well at least we made it to the next phase. Shit! Oh no! I don't have any life medicine anymore. Yeah? Ah, that was almost no damage. I just kind of went for direct damage instead, but that's fine. At least it did something. Uh-oh, there's already a grenade on the way. Ah, fuck, Aloysius. It's just so slow. I get hit! Dude, what the hell? That literally cost me my life medicine. Yeah, like this, for example. But how do you bait him to do that? See, because that was a pretty decent amount of damage. Yeah, please, please. Didn't do anything. Why not? I was right next to him. That made no sense. Why did that not count? Okay, one more opportunity. See, he's right next to... Ah, now he dodges away. So the moment I'm on the rock, you see, immediately the bees get back. The things with the AK-47, you can fire from the water, but I just can't do it with this weapon. Now can I better aim for him rather than for the grenade? The thing is, why does he now all of a sudden do a grenade while getting rid of his bullet shield? Yeah, but it was smarter to fire at him, then you have guaranteed damage. Oh, look at my health! Look at his. I'm so close, but there's no way to win now with this little health. Unless I get godlike RNG, I'm not gonna win this. Do that 5... Yeah, that again. Ah! Hey, I won! Yes! I actually won! Whoa! That was some luck there. Awesome! Yeah, I did it. Revolver only. It did work out. Hey, it was his grenades. I didn't throw any grenades. Oh... Exactly, the pain. He earned his name. He earned his name. He definitely earned his name. And also the snow camo definitely didn't work. Oh my god. After the fight, because of some fortunate ammo pickups, I decided to shoot fruit for food and even a poisoned frog to feed to the fear later on. Then I equipped a water camo and a crocodile cap to avoid getting spotted in the water. Yes, you can actually fool the guards with this stupid Halloween mask. Pfft, what a crock. Unfortunately, we cannot say "see you later, alligator" to the end without a sniper rifle. At least I don't think so. But even if you could have, I wouldn't have, since I wouldn't want to miss out on his boss fight. However, I did manage to inflict a nice chunk of damage on him using the explosive barrels. So I wonder how much, if any, of that damage will carry over to the actual boss fight. But that is something for much later. First of all, getting through the warehouse felt like more trouble than the majority of boss fights in this playthrough, because there were 4 soldiers in a small area where camouflage does little to conceal you. So therefore I simply chose to gun my way through. After all, as long as you kill the guards holding radios first, you at least don't have to worry about any backup showing up. And because of that, it wasn't too bad. However, I can't imagine what it would be like without having enough bullets in my inventory going through here on the way back. And speaking of a foreshadow, thank fuck for shadows, because it allowed me to stay out of sight without requiring any gunfire along the road towards Groznyj. Although technically, if you look back from what the perspective of the guards would have been, especially later on in full daylight, Snake definitely would still have been completely visible. But hey, that's just video game logic, which doesn't tend to make a lot of sense.
Well, this technology will be the missing link between infantry and artillery. A kind of Metal Gear, if you will.
He said it! He said it!
What does make complete sense, though, is that you can safely move past the scientists using the cardboard box. After all, since they work for Groznyj, I think they do at least, they should be used to things that normally wouldn't have any legs, having legs. Unfortunately for me, I didn't have a leg to stand on against the fear. At least not until going into the survival viewer to cure it. On a side note, 5 years ago, I actually made a general European extreme difficulty guide for the original game. And the quick kill method for the fear that I showed back then doesn't seem to work in the remake. So there are in fact some actual gameplay differences after all. Also back then, someone commented that the venom that the fear mentioned would not merely be lethal, but it would first affect the bloodstream in such a way that Snake would have a massive boner as a result. So another case where Solid Snake makes an early appearance, it seems. Or heck, even Venom Snake in a sense. Speaking of which, I could at least use poison against him as well, in order to frog up his health bar. Although of course I would have to survive long enough, especially since I wouldn't be doing any damage to his stamina bar. Fortunately, his bolts aren't exactly quick as lightning, and therefore at least relatively easy to avoid. But his grenades were quite a different story. This was definitely very different on New Game with the AK-47, which can do a ton of damage. You can't even see the fucking grenades coming. That's gonna be a problem. Initially, I wasn't that worried about this this fight, but I think it's definitely going to be more tricky than I thought it would be. It seems like he only shoots 3 arrows in a row, so that at least helps. Or an arrow and a grenade. Okay, more bullets. Jeez, that's not even a quarter of his health yet. Does anyone actually know if the poison dart frog does damage to his health or only to his stamina? Of course, he's not going to eat anything to begin with when his stamina isn't low. Oh, fuck! Ah, shit! I still get hit. Oh, he's getting hungry. Okay, let's at least throw the frog. Good thing for the replenishing bullets, even though it's only 6. Now he ate something else, so that sucks. Oh, whoa! Grenade. I heard it. I basically have to listen for the grenade, otherwise I'm not going to know that he even threw one to begin with. Ah, fuck, I forgot to reload. Ocelot may love to reload during a battle, but I don't. yeah, the unequip reloading still works, but I have to, of course, remember to actually make use of it. Also, sometimes his health bar becomes basically grayed out. That means that he can't take damage at that time. So that's also a helpful quality of life thing that they added in the remake. Oh, he can shoot way more arrows right now in the second phase, basically, once his health is halfway. Oh, I heard it. Oh, hey, whoa! What a dick. Oh, he got poisoned. Hey, he got hit by his own trap. That's awesome. Oh, he's taking damage from the poison, so it actually did work to get actual health damage on him. Okay, that's great. Okay, we're getting close. We're getting close. We can do this. Damn it, I should have done it in first person mode. Ah, fuck, I get hit. No! Great! Ooh. All of a sudden he couldn't take damage anymore. Okay, I don't... Shit, now I no longer have the thermal goggles and I'm almost dead. Come on, I don't want to die right before the end. Yeah, I don't have any life medicine anymore. I just already used it. I could use the fake death pill. Like that, maybe that way I can get the final shots in. Yeah, let's try that. Ah, that was so... Damn it, I thought I would get more out of that. Damn it, that sucks. Ah, I got him. I got him. Okay. Okay, didn't really get much out of that fake death pill, but doesn't matter. Okay, that was definitely a longer fight than I thought it would be. In fact, the tranquilizer is way more effective than the revolver if you just go for a non-lethal kill. So, after dealing with this predator knockoff, we need to head for the chopper. You know, there's a chopper flying around in the mountain area. But there's also a lot of stuff in between here and there. Including a second trip through the warehouse. But this time I had no ammunition to shoot my way through. Well, a single bullet. But apart from during the actual boss fight itself, there was suddenly no new ammunition available in the fierce boss arena. And relying on perfect stealth in such a small area, with 4 guards patrolling around, literally took me over a freaking hour. But eventually, I managed to do this. There's a soldier over there.
What was that?
Quick. Please, quick, move quicker.
What was that?
But there should be another soldier somewhere up here. But I'm at the door at least. Yeah. Quick. Yeah, I made it. I actually made it. Okay. Awesome. Okay, it worked. Throwing a ration worked. And they taste disgusting anyway, so I'm fine with that. Well, at least the next section, albeit still slow, was a bit more straightforward. And it was much more easy to stay concealed. However, no ammo along the way from beginning to end, so when I came at the end of the section leading to the beginning of the end boss fight, I ended up with no ammo to end the end with at the beginning of the end's boss fight. Fortunately, near the beginning of the end's boss arena, you find an ammo shed. But since you rarely end up back at the beginning of the end's boss arena after beginning the fight against the end, you still end up running out of ammo very quickly. Oh, and practically nothing of the damage that we did against the end from earlier remained at the beginning of the end's boss fight to begin with. Not to mention that the end is about as easy to find as a specific end in an anthill. And on top of that, you cannot leave this area, given that you'll encounter a dead end until the end is dead. Ironically, just running around hoping to get shot at seems to be the quickest way to find out where the end has ended up after going to a new location. Yeah, it worked. Okay, not bad. The problem is bullets, because other than that little shed with the ammunition, is there any other place where I can find bullets? I doubt it. I only have 4 bullets. Yeah, there he is. Okay, I'm out. Damn it, he's not moving. Okay, this is this is not good. I need to go back to that shed with the... Oh, he's moving. Okay, good. Now allow him to... Hey. Ah, damn it! I don't have any bullets! Okay, let's go back to the shed. Hey, what the hell? They don't... What? What the hell is this? But when you use an actual sniper rifle, you can also get new ammunition, so that doesn't make sense. Fuck. Yeah, there he is. I don't have bullets! Look at this! Where are more bullets?
Freeze! How did you? Fine, have this.
Okay, at least I have his uniform. I can CQC him, I guess, if I can even hit him. Probably not. No, I can't hit him because he's not standing up. I can't even do that. Yeah, rolling into him also doesn't work because that only does stamina damage. Well, at least I have his outfit. That's something. There has to be more ammo. I don't believe that. I just flat out refuse to believe that there isn't more ammo. I mean, that would have been extremely known if there was only limited... I mean, you see? It just took more time, I guess. You see? I knew it. Where exactly is he? He has to be somewhere over there. Hold on, let's get the thermal. Yeah, there he is. Okay, good. Exactly, good. I'm not sure if I can even get up there though, so maybe I can hit him from here. That might, yeah, that might work. Okay, not bad. He's still quite a bit of health left, but we're getting somewhere. Also, he is very low on stamina, by the way. Whoa! Apparently he's here. Did he notice me? Would be nice to get an actual headshot.
Lend me your strength.
I can shoot you in the back of the head.
Fight like a man.
Hey, you're the one throwing stun grenades. I still got... I did get a hit in there. Fuck, I'm still reloading. Damn it. Should have used the quick reload. No, I'm not going to wait for him to die of old age. Wait, how was he behind me? Quick, switch to the revolver. Okay, quick, get rid of this. Okay, I should have him now. Reload. Yeah, got him. Nice.
That parrot's still alive, you know. Those fucking things live forever.
Alright, next up is a tall ladder, so I guess it's time to make another Snake Eater reference. Oh, wait. Oh yeah, that's right. This time I could just let it play, as it's the original. However, my first stream actually got demonetized because I played the intro song. So, just to be safe, I still have to replace the a cappella version for something else somewhat befitting of such a tall ladder.
Where were you when they built the ladder to heaven?
Okay, and there we are. So, the mountain area consists of 3 very different sections that I approach in 3 very different ways. The first section is actually easy to get through using pure stealth alone, as long as you wear the desert face paint and the chocolate chip uniform. However, the second part is certainly no piece of cake, when you cannot use a suppressor. Although, having said that, you can actually shoot the first guards from far enough away without getting hurt. Although it doesn't work out that well, since the third one will spot a corpse. And it's too far for consistent headshots at that range. Well, for my aiming skills at least. Because remember that this section is very long, and a single mistake sets you all the way back to the beginning of it. So, instead, I used a spider that I caught in a mousetrap earlier on to poison the first guard. Because remember, that is literally my only way to do a true silent takedown. Also, Venom Snake made another early appearance, but it took forever to catch it, since it kept going all Ouroboros instead of going for the cheese. Regardless, using a mousetrap to catch live animals is still not the weirdest thing that happened in a Metal Gear game. I also decided to catch a scorpion, since I expected to need it for later. Oh, come on, scorpion! Get over here! Sorry, when it comes to impressions, I'm certainly not pretty good. Well, because I caused an alert, I basically just said fuck it, since this is the closest we get to a desert-style area. I decided to simply go full Wild West mode, even though I could actually just have reloaded the last autosave. And of course it doesn't sound too smart to take this approach with an actual helicopter around. However, I exploited its one weakness that no helicopter has an answer to. A wooden crate. Heck, at this point I wouldn't have been surprised if the cardboard box made me immune to helicopter gunfire. Still, not the weirdest thing that... Okay, I think you get the point. Although you probably will not get the point of me just arbitrarily, for no functional reason whatsoever, bend the rules to include using the anti-aircraft gun to destroy the helicopter, since there was absolutely no need to, but whoa, don't judge too quickly. It spins around, it's a gun, and it revolves. It's a revolver. Also, it was just for shits and giggles anyway, so who gives a shit? Well, speaking of that, because of the types of food that we eat throughout this run, a giggle can easily end in a shit. But fortunately, Eva provided us with a bunch of noodles. Which in turn led me to use my own noodle and came up with 2 brilliant strategies. First of all, I lied down and went to take a piss. Because in that time my health bar would regen back to full. And, because this area is dark, I decided to wear the black uniform to blend in. And of course, when it comes to face paint, you then choose the...
Wearing black face paint, huh?
Okay, let's just use the splitter face paint instead. Although, to be honest, given how the Fury lights up the place with his rocket jet fuel-fueled flamethrower, I'm actually pretty sure it made no meaningful difference anyway. Especially given the fact that this boss's real superpower is his super sense of awareness, where the slightest movement will alert him to your presence. Which is a massive problem given that you cannot damage him from the front. And I don't have the benefit of range this time around, since I would normally use a sniper rifle for this fight. And when you attack him from up close, he turns into quite a hothead indeed. If he had lived during the internet age, he probably would have acted like a troll, someone who just wants to watch the world burn. Although I don't know what he could be so angry about, because with all the shit that Snake has gone through, I'm sure he has some sort of pent-up anger. Not to mention how easily something like this can piss you off. Yeah, that's probably another superpower that the Fury has. Evidently he is also a firebender who can bend the fire around corners. At the very least, it sure as hell feels like he sometimes just hits you at complete random. So, all in all, even when you play almost perfectly throughout the entire fight, but when you get close to the end, the smallest error can immediately turn things around. In other words, no matter how well you perform, the Fury holds victory in the napalm of his hand. Ironically, when taking on this boss up close, it's apparently way more effective to use a knife. In fact, you're even advised to do that on the radio. So you don't take a knife to a gunfight, but apparently you should also not take a gun to a fight against a flamethrower. Maybe it's a sort of rock, paper, scissors relationship. Flamethrower beats gun beats knife, and knife beats flamethrower. Fuck, I really need bullets now. But I'm moving in the opposite direction of where the bullets are. Oh, and all of a sudden I get random fire again. I hate how random this fight feels. Wow, he didn't see me apparently. Okay, good. And he's at low health, so basically he's just running around like a Volgin Raven on extreme difficulty. He just keeps... I'm so close. 7 bullets. Damn it, I have to dive through the fire! Just allow me one good shot at him. No! No! And there's only fire around me.
Here it comes.
Yes! Got him! Yes! Ah, right before the end of the stream. I understand why he's called the Fury, because he really pisses you off. Well, Houston, we no longer have a problem after over an hour of attempts. So yeah, that guy certainly puts the ass in Astronaut. But unfortunately, when sneaking through Groznyj, I kind of made an ass of myself as well, by messing up at the last possible second before entering the building. So, because of the resulting alert, I decided to see if I could simply blast my way through, thinking that I wouldn't be able to silently dispose of Major Rykov anyway. Well, major mistake. because I had nowhere near the amount of bullets necessary to deal with the massive amount of backup that you encounter when triggering an alert. However, it's not even the case that I couldn't perform a silent takedown on Rykov. After all, if my chances of success with a direct approach aren't merely low, but even sub-zero, rather than engaging in mortal combat myself, I should let Scorpion deal the fatal blow.
Scorpion wins. Fatality.
Speaking of fatalities, albeit not fatal, after Volgin discovered that my Solid Snake is, well, I don't exactly know whether it's supposed to be bigger or smaller, but apart from that, the resulting beatdown can certainly be described as a brutality, as there was more than just friendship going on between Volgin and Rykov. Well, I somehow survived both that and the subsequent torture, although Eva did almost die, since not even Ocelot kept track of where his single bullet was. Fortunately, Snake kept a close eye on things. On top of that, you don't even need to squint to see where the frequency is hidden to open up your cell. Now, normally I would get it from the back of Johnny's photograph. But despite not needing to do that right now, I should at least have made sure to keep and collect all 3 meals that he provides you with, instead of being in such a hurry. Because, despite still being in possession of, or in a new game, having now obtained the Revolver, that's not exactly going to help me sneak out of this fortress. But distracting enemies by throwing food would have been effective. The thing is, I only had 1 meal to throw around, and because of that, the whole thing was going to the dogs. And I did not prevent getting spotted along the way, and basically I not so gracefully tanked my way through. On the other hand, that was compensated by the extremely graceful dive from a, well, lethal height, technically, blue-balling Ocelot in the process, because I kinda doubt that this bullet was already supposed to be a blank at this point. But unfortunately, I also got kinda blue-balled trying to obtain the Sorrow Spirit camo, given that I killed so many people in this playthrough, meaning I wasn't going to make it to the end of the river. At least if any of that even happened in reality, because for all I know, I was losing whatever sanity I still had left. Well, I did end up pistol whipping a goat afterwards, so you tell me. So then we met up with Eva again, who is obviously half naked again for necessary plot reasons. Then we have something to eat, unfortunately no hornet's nest, since paramedic explicitly told us that we can eat the poopa. Well, her objectively wrong mispronunciation aside, by now we cannot even catch any post-poopa either. Yeah, a lot of drama in this story. Now, along the way back to Groznyj, I could potentially have caught some electric mushrooms to help me out during the fight against Volgin. Problem is, I kind of forgot about that mechanic. In hindsight, it probably wouldn't have made that much of a difference anyway. And catching live tree frogs to distract them with wasn't even an option anymore to begin with. But we can at least speed up the process of getting to that fight in the first place by using a cardboard box to instantly transport us to the Shagohod's maintenance hall. Now, obviously, in order to progress the game, we do have to use the C3 here. Not C4, but C3. Although, 4 of them. See? 4. However, then our progress is going to be halted for a while. Because now we have to face the most complicated fight in the game under these restrictions. In fact, Volgin's electric abilities will force me to amend the rules of the challenge to make progress feasible to begin with. Because here's the problem. Volgin is completely immune to gunfire unless you attack him from behind. And sometimes even then he is shielded. On top of that, our damage output is absolutely horrendous. Not to mention that having our revolver equipped causes him to blast us with homing electricity bolts that will also instantly remove our currently loaded bullets. Now, this might still have been feasible if we could simply just slowly grind away his health bar. But that's not an option because of the time limit. So I couldn't figure out any way to speed up the process other than bending the rules by implementing CQC. And I mean actual CQC, as pistol whipping him did nothing. Now, of course, the point was still to not beat him by draining his stamina, but simply to create opportunities to shoot him. However, that wasn't sufficient either. If you hit him when he's on the ground, you can only hit him 3 times in a row, so you need to allow him to stand up first in order to get 4 shots in instead. But either way, the damage is terrible, and the time limit is so strict that I still wasn't even remotely fast enough. Especially because in the second phase, his moveset changes, making damage opportunities even more slim. And in the first phase, Ocelot would give us a hand, but in the second phase, we have lost that helping hand. And from MGS1 onwards, so has he. Not to mention that at random times, after knocking Volgin down in his second phase, he will arbitrarily still have the electric shield, wasting even more time. At the very least, the slow reload time of the revolver is not an actual issue, because of the quick reload trick by simply re-equipping it. Ocelot might love to reload during a battle, but I'm already getting tired of reloading my actual freaking save file from failing over and over and over again. In fact, I kept trying for 2 hours straight, even resorting to the new gold camouflage, which allows you to move faster, and simply hoping for good enough RNG. But if with my rotten luck I was already rolling Snake Eyes most of the time in the early game, at this point I was only capable of rolling Snake Eye singular. Now, I did get frustratingly close, but it still wasn't fast enough, and tricks like the Rykov mask only allow for a single additional damage opportunity. No, I needed something that would allow me to get damage in at a faster rate, throughout the entire fight, and consistently. Well, the benefit of live streaming is the interaction with viewers. And Deadly Angel provided me with just the strat to make this possible. You see, having a gun equipped causes Volgin to do his homing bolt attack. However, if you unequip it after baiting the attack, it will no longer home in on you, allowing for a consistent CQC setup in the first phase. Now, in the second phase it does get more complicated and RNG heavy, but at least the same principle applies. Although this time you need to crawl down and unequip the revolver to make the bolts go over you. And that should be sufficient to make it through the fight within the time limit. So, Volgin indeed has a lot of electrics up his sleeve, but now, so do I. Okay, and behind me are bullets, so that's very helpful.
Time remaining until detonation.
Okay.
60.
Okay, going well. Going very well. And I got him! That went better than I did off stream, to be honest. Oh fuck, I forgot to switch my camo. Well, that's fine. Now we have the gold snake in the cutscene. Well, to be fair, as long as you can move fast, then you're golden. You would think that after that encounter with Volgin, nothing would shock me anymore. But that was not the case, because the entire motorcycle section was surprisingly easy. And I mean unreasonably easy. Not because the revolver was an effective weapon in this section, it very much wasn't. And I obviously couldn't even slow down the Shagohod by hitting its tracks. Not to mention that the guys on the motorcycles were tanky as all hell. But the simple fact was that even on extreme difficulty, so was I. Especially when wearing the sneaking suit. Even on this difficulty, you can easily tank your way through all of the incoming damage. I didn't even have to resort to using my remaining life medicine. So, all in all, perhaps this part of the game is simply a little bit too forgiving, even when using a subpar weapon like the revolver. Well, having said that, there is still one other aspect where the revolver quite literally falls short. Okay, let's see if I can actually, if I zoom in. Okay, let's see. Oh, that works! Not bad. Oh, but that one is a lot more difficult to hit. Now it doesn't work anymore. What are you doing? I'm doing a challenge run. I wish I could talk back to Eva. So I have to aim higher. But I don't know how much higher. And you can't see where the bullet actually lands. Yeah, it could also be that I simply don't have the range to do it in the first place. I can only hit the right one and not the left one. Okay, let's see if there's a difference with the normal pistol. Oh! Huh. Could it be that the normal pistol has more range? That could very well be the case. Yeah, I guess I'll have to just do it with the regular pistol. At least it's still in the spirit of the run, right? It's at least still done with a handgun. Because I don't think this is possible. Oh wait, I can at least do this one with the regular revolver. So that's at least possible. Okay. Well, that is the closest we could get. And it was at least within the spirit of the challenge. But of course, now we obviously have no choice but to turn this stealth game into an action RPG. Otherwise, we literally cannot inflict any damage upon the Shagohod. No matter how much you try to spin things with a revolver, there's no way around it. But at least when we get to the second phase, we should still be able to take down Volgin himself using the revolver. Now, he does still have his annoying shield that blocks any incoming shot from the front, and the damage is once again really poor. But hey, as long as Eva provides us with new ammunition, without a time limit, we should be able to slowly grind down his health bar. Although, speaking of time, Eva is sure as hell taking her own sweet time, throwing a new stack of ammo my way. Hello? Eva? What the hell are you doing? I mean, that is a mechanic, right? That Eva provides you with new ammunition when you run out? I mean, let me demonstrate by simply emptying out some of my other weapons. See, that works. Uh-oh. Crapalicious. So you're telling me that Eva does provide you with new ammo, but only for weapons that you are expected to use in this fight. Oh my god, so first it was a time limit, and now it's an ammunition limit. Well, all is not lost. There is still one alternative. Given that we already had to use missiles on the Shagohod itself, in the second phase, for whatever reason, shooting the tracks with the RPG disables Volgin's shield, and on top of that he will take bonus damage. And that way we not only have enough bullets to drain all of his health, we even have 4 bullets to spare. Now of course, despite all appearances, Volgin still doesn't technically die, since they decided that they hadn't completely overused the trope yet of oh, character X wasn't actually truly dead after all, what a twist. So they implemented that on him as well. Although interestingly, they actually made a visual change in the remake, where Volgin has the same pattern of bullet casings in his face as his later Man on Fire incarnation in Metal Gear Solid 5. So that is a nice detail for sure. Now, just like the motorcycle section from before, there's not much to say about the second cycle because it's similar to the first cycle and takes place on the same cycle. I was worried about crashing it into the tree trunk that you have to blow up with the RPG, but despite my expectations, that does not result in an instant death. So even that we were able to tank through. Which makes it all the more ironic that despite being able to withstand an entire tree trunk, Eva is not exactly as resistant to a little tree branch. Now this would normally be the part where you lose the revolver from your inventory, since you give it to Eva in the cutscene, because she lost her own pistol during the chase. However, on New Game Plus, the game treats it like you have 2 revolvers, the one you started with and the one you acquired after the torture scene. Which in all honesty I wasn't even sure about before starting this challenge. So I was quite relieved to discover that you do in fact still have a revolver here in the endgame. Unfortunately, with the exception of the first section where you can stay ahead of the soldiers chasing you, in the second section you have little choice but to shoot your way through. And then you discover that although 18 bullets are obviously better than 0, majorly better than 0, but you will need to be almost perfect with headshots in order to survive through the first wave of enemies. And yeah, technically Eva can help you, but her shooting is not really all that fancy. She is pretty bad. Now fortunately soldiers can drop new bullets and you're gonna need them, but how many of them will drop them is RNG dependent. Now I did try to pick up as few other weapons as possible throughout the playthrough to increase the odds, but I still ended up with some unnecessary weapons in my inventory. so the odds were not really that much in my favor. On top of that, due to the absence of any checkpoint between the first wave and the second batch of soldiers further up ahead, which includes new soldiers spawning behind you literally out of nowhere, and that implies that if you make a mistake, you have to do the entire section all over again. And especially the fact that you have to deal with soldiers in front of you, as well as an entire group ambushing you from behind, you quickly realize why the whole concept of a revolver is a bit of an outdated weapon design. Very similar to the whole concept of annoying escort missions as far as game design is concerned. You know, in my humble opinion. So now, as the grand finale, we come to the final boss. The boss. Finally. Now, as far as CQC is concerned, I only use it defensively to parry her attacks. I don't actively engage her with it. In fact, as much as I could, I was trying to prevent her from doing that by staying out of view. But not unlike the Fury, she has unreasonably powerful perception. And also just like against the Fury, normally I would engage her with a sniper rifle, which not only does better damage, but it will actually knock her on the ground, meaning I wouldn't even necessarily give my location away. But things are quite a bit different with the revolver, meaning that for every hit I could expect an instant counterattack, meaning I had to be even more careful when and from where I would choose to take a shot at her. Fuck, I missed. Oh, 5, yeah, below, so 5 or less. Why is she hitting me? What the fuck? Why is she hitting me? Oh my god. No, is there no way to outrun her? Okay, I got her. Nice moves, by the way. Okay, I'm getting close. And I have 5 more minutes, so time limit is not going to be the problem here. Damn it, I missed my opportunity. Damn it, I don't see her. Fuck! I have no choice. Yeah, okay, I got her. That's it! That's it, that's the end of the game. That was Metal Gear Solid Delta, quote-unquote Revolver only. Not 100% only, of course, but that's as far as you can take it. That's it. And there we have it. Ocelot should be proud. In fact, we of course had one final duel with him. Although, what specifically could have been his goal by doing that? Well, I tried to think of one, but I simply drew a blank. And thus ends Operation Snake Eater, with the greatest handgun ever made. Depending on perspective, I suppose. But everything that happened certainly changed Big Boss's perspective, giving rise to all the subsequent events in the timeline. After all, the manly tears shed over the fate of the boss is exactly what the entire story revolves around. But will this result in even more Metal Gear Challenge runs? I cannot say that for sure, but whatever the future holds, I can at least assure you that the best is yet to come.
Everything she did for her country. She sacrificed her life and her honor for her native land. She was a real hero. She was a true patriot.